Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Cosmic Conversations. I'm your host, Sheila Seppi, and I'm so excited that you're here with us tonight, whether you are in the Zoom room or whether you are watching us on a replay. Thank you so much for being here with us. Now, tonight, we have a special guest, Corrina Ryder, and Corrina is a visionary healer, a mystic rebel, a guide, and I love that, a mystic rebel, and guide to others on their awakening and wellness journeys. Her decades of experience in scenic, retail, and landscape design are the foundation for her healing work, which uses your environment as the pathway to self-discovery and understanding your inner self more completely. Corrina's unique design methodology is based on connecting your inner and outer worlds, sensory storytelling, and spiritual design. She teaches others to see themselves and reflect in their physical surroundings and empowers them to feel more confident, comfortable, and authentically expressed. She's here tonight to lead us on an adventure of becoming environmentally you. But before I bring her up, what I'd like to do tonight is to share something with you that I'm very, very excited about. As you know, Cosmic Conversations is part of the Conscious Awakening Network, and we have just launched our new website. So I want to go ahead and I want to share my screen with you so you can see that. I hope everyone can see that okay. So this is the new look of the Conscious Awakening Network. And we're really focusing on awakening that universe within, because we know what's within is without. As above, so below. We know that we're all a divine reflection. And so that's what we wanted to bring more into the Conscious Awakening Network. And this is our homepage, our welcoming page. You can click on any of these and it will immediately take you to the streaming site. But I wanted to just go down through here. This is a very important register. If you're not already on our mailing list, we'd like for you to go ahead and sign up, because when we have our community platform that comes online, you will not be invited to participate unless you are on our mailing list. We also have added something super cool, and that is our music content. Now, the music content, we're still in the process of uploading, but we have some amazing musicians who are sharing the music with us. And so if you've got your phones and your phone apps, you can listen to our music. As you're going to sleep, you can listen to music and meditations. And as we go down through here, we talk more about the universe at your fingertips and on demand. So with live streaming, you're able to click here, paid events, our calendar of events. And as you go down, we're now talking about a marketplace that we're going to be bringing online. We'll have everything in there from artisans and books and courses to events and handmade items, business services, which we will have an entire section that we're still creating, our healing and coaching. The music, this will be music that's actually for sale, whereas the music above is what we have for people to listen to. And then we have tours, because there's a lot of people taking tours that they want to share with individuals. You can go to my website, and then here you can click and come on to the Galactic Alliance. Now, I want to go ahead and show you our streaming site. From here, all you have to do is click on streaming media, and it's going to take you to our site. Now, I hope, can you guys hear this? No? Okay. So I'm not going to show, but this is our introductory video that we have been playing on social media. As you go down through here, we have our top trending videos. We have all of the channels listed. All you have to do is click here to view all, and here you will see all of our hosts and the various programs that we have. And we have several pages of them. Let's see, Mary was still here. Let's see. Mary, when you go to your site, then this will bring up all of her individual videos, as well as bring them up again in topics. So if you're interested in a topic, then you just go and you click topics, and all of our topics will come up. All you have to do is to click and it will take you to the various videos. All of this is live right now. So that's consciousawakeningnetwork.org. Here you can go to the programs, the marketplace, the Can Learn, and what we call the Spacebook, which is actually our site where we will have an open community, similar to Facebook, but it's not exactly. So this is going to be internal community talk. Again, you can hit live, and here, like if you go to our podcasting, this is our Conscious Awakening podcasting, and we have tons of videos down through. And you can listen to the app, you can follow, you can get to our Facebook page from here, as well as Instagram and YouTube and LinkedIn. So it has all of our social media sites. Again, all you do is click the home button and it'll take you right back to where you want to go. So with our events and programming, as you go down through, we're beginning to talk about awakening all of the dimensions of you. Now, on this page, we have our paid events. And again, you can register to be on the mailing list. And as you go down, these are all of the shows that we currently have that will be live streaming. And so you can find out what's on each day of the week. And we do have quite a bit. We actually have one more I guess you'd say thumbnail or banner that needs to go up here that we just received. So that'll show that we have 4 programs and it will give the time. And so this is really something that I think is going to be convenient. Instead of seeing a name and trying to click on it and then go to another page, everything will be right here at your fingertips. Now for our marketplace, this is something that's super cool too, because we're going to have everything in here from artisans and musicians to healers and coaches, you name it, we're going to have it. And here, this portion right here is what will be taking you to our commerce section. Now, this will not be up until I think in September, and our not our events, but our Can Learn, which is what we're going to talk about next, is going to be up next month along with the Spacebook. So here we have, this is for the multidimensional you. This is all about coaching and online courses, up-leveling your skills, as well as entrepreneurship. And so as you go down through here, you can read just a little bit more about this. So this is a section that is for both the user, and if someone is interested in putting up their own courses, then you can do that. So that will be very, very helpful to a lot of people. When we go to Spacebook, this is our section for connecting communities. This will be an internal chat room. You're able to form your own groups. You'll be able to share photography. There's so many things that we have planned for this site, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it will be up sometime in August. And so this, you can go to this page and visit. All of this is up right now, and you can go back at your convenience and read all about it. But I really just wanted to share a little bit about that with you tonight before we got started. So again, that address is consciousawakeningnetwork.org. If you haven't already visited, please check us out. So, Corrina, without any further ado, I would like to go ahead and to bring you up. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Let's see, I'm going to share my screen. I have a presentation for you. So, as you know, my name is Corrina Ryder. I am an environmental wellness practitioner, creative environments designer, and intuitive artist. And the presentation I put together is an introduction of who I am, the background and overview of the Environmentally You, environmental wellness design methodology, and the podcasts that I've created to go along with it. So I'm going to give you a backstory of me and how this is all developed. I grew up in the 70s with a family, a hippie family who encouraged my creative nature and spiritual exploration. I spent a vast amount of my time outdoors in nature, playing with wildlife. We had horses, rabbits, and a cat, as well as my imaginary friends, such as the gnomes and fairies, who I created elaborate villages for so that they had places to stay while traveling through our yard on their journeys. I also attended a Montessori school through 5th grade. And then into the 80s, my parents divorced and we moved into a more urban setting. It was around this time that I developed interest in the metaphysical practices such as tarot, astrology, crystals, I Ching, and became fascinated with my connection to ancient Egypt. It was also around this time that I started to become quite rebellious. And I like to think of it as me being strong-willed, fearless, curious, and adventurous with just a bit of teenage angst. Um, and at this time in my life, I considered myself an atheist, although I did believe in magic, and I did question why there were so many different religions in the world and if there was truth behind them. So going into the early 90s, this is when I started becoming aware that the vivid and active dream state that I had wasn't what other people were experiencing. And this led me to my interest in dream analysis, lucid dreaming, and having a better understanding of my subconscious mind. I also spent time as an exchange student in Mexico and Costa Rica. And I had for a brief period where my rebellious nature got me put into a detention home and a group home and then a psychiatric hospital. And then sometime after this, I ended up moving to California. And this is when I began my studies in studio art with a particular interest in sculpture and installation art, basically creative environments. Yes. And then into the late 90s, this is when I began bartending, and really my social life became my priority. I was really quite confused and unsure how to develop and pursue my career as an artist. This was the MTV era, back when MTV really was music videos. And that was one of my interests. I pondered the idea of being a designer and a set designer for music videos. I ended up moving up to San Francisco in the Bay Area, where I continued my career as a bartender, but I also started working during the day for a stage production company. And on the weekends, I also did artwork for raves, which were a big thing back in the 90s. But after a couple of years of being there, I realized I just really didn't like San Francisco that much. And I decided to move back to my hometown of Ithaca, New York, where I continued being a bartender. But I also started exploring my passion for designing furniture. And I started recreating pieces that I was finding on the streets for free or cheap at garage sales. Then into the early 2000s, after about 2 years back in New York, I ended up moving back to California again and decided to finish my associate's degree at Santa Barbara City College in studio art. Soon after graduating, I began my career in retail display and window design. Which ended abruptly after a couple of years due to an injury that resulted in emergency spinal surgery. But it was during this time that one of my very talented managers She had noticed my knack for visual storytelling and turned me on to theater scenic design. So as a result of the spinal injury, I decided to return to school. So I went back to Santa Barbara City College to finish up the classes that I needed to transfer to the California University system. In that time, I did a one-year internship for the Santa Barbara City College Art Department in the Image Resource Center, which immersed me in art history. Meanwhile, I took theater and drafting classes, as well as worked on a couple of the first theater productions I had ever done, and had my first experience designing a show. And it was actually a comedy about the Bible. So from there, I transferred to UC Santa Cruz, where I spent 2 years majoring in theater with an emphasis in scenic design. And then I graduated in 2008, just in time for the economic recession. So when I got out of school, there was not a lot of jobs available in theater because theaters weren't even producing shows because of what was happening in our economy. So I ended up finding work that I was absolutely miserable doing, but I did it anyway. I worked for a psychiatric center, and I ended up learning a lot from the therapists that I worked with. And this ultimately inspired me to go back to school again. So I considered majoring in psychology, but ultimately decided to pursue landscape architecture. Now, during this time, I also learned, this is when I learned how to ride a motorcycle. And I know this sounds out there and not associated, but it changed my life in ways that I did not expect. And it brought heightened awareness to my senses. And I can only tell you, doing 90 miles an hour on the freeway in California really gets you in touch with what your body feels and its relationship to the environment. So in preparation for grad school at UCLA, I began volunteering at the Santa Barbara Botanic Garden to learn more about plants. And then for the first year and a half, I commuted 180 miles 3 times a week through LA traffic to go to school. And eventually I moved down to Long Beach, where my commute was much shorter. And while in grad school, I was extremely dedicated to becoming a landscape architect, including working for a landscape architecture firm. And something I do want to clarify, landscape design and horticulture versus landscape architecture, there is a bit of a difference. And I figured the best way to do that is to give you the definition that the American Society of Landscape Architects offers. And that is, landscape architecture involves the planning, design, management, and nurturing of the built and natural environments. With their unique skill set, landscape architects work to improve human and environmental health in all communities. So I graduated from UCLA at the end of 2015. And at this time, I started taking on clients of my own, which ultimately ended to the end of my work with the firm that I was working for through school. And so then I was in a situation living in LA where it's very expensive to live there. And I needed to decide if I really wanted to move forward with pursuing my own business, or if I wanted to find a position with another firm. And I realized I didn't really have the desire to stay in LA. And this was when I started my open dialogue with the universe. This is also when I met Metatron, who has become one of my dominant guides. So Not knowing what I wanted to do, knowing I didn't want to be where I was at, I took a huge leap of faith into the unknown. I sold almost all of my belongings and I packed up my motorcycle, a not much different motorcycle at this point. And I shipped a few things out to my father to take care of. And I went on a trip to somewhere and to find where I was meant to be. This is what I now look back and see as when my spiritual journey really started to take control of where I was going and what was happening. I turned myself over to the universe. I briefly returned to my hometown. This is when I started meditating daily. I started spending a lot more time in natural settings. I returned to my days of consulting my oracle cards regularly. I started building my crystal collection again. On my hikes, I started collecting feathers and bones and whatever drew my attention. This is also when I was introduced to the Akasha and the Akashic records. So throughout this, I continued searching for that dream job that I felt like I had worked so hard to be qualified for, and I honestly felt I deserved. And then at the beginning of 2019, I had what I consider an epiphany. I realized that instead of focusing so much of my energy on finding this dream job, that it would be better for me to concentrate on creating my dream life. And for me at this time, my dream life was, I was reflecting back on my time traveling on my motorcycle. And I wanted to create a life and business on the road, but not, I wanted a roof over my head. It's traveling on a motorcycle is quite taxing on the body. So I started envisioning myself in an RV. And so by the end of 2019, just actually a few months later, 6-7 months later, I ended up having an opportunity that presented itself to move to Dallas, which is a thriving city. And I figured, I'm going to go and test out this new business plan that I have that ultimately would allow me to work from home or on the road. And mind you, this was pre-pandemic, so it wasn't the norm yet. And within weeks of being there, I started landing clients. Things seemed to be taking off. I thought everything was going to be fine and dandy. And then March of 2020 happened, and all of my business momentum stopped and the world stopped. We all know what happened. And somehow by June, just a few months later, my life on the road began. And although I didn't have the business plans, and which meant the finances weren't there, which meant that I ended up living out of a van rather than this RV that I had envisioned. This took me, I ended up traveling through Colorado and Wyoming and South Dakota. I ended up down in Missouri for a while, Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas. And actually, while I was in Missouri, I spent 3 months there living off grid. I had no electricity, no running water. This is a picture here of the horse pasture that I lived in adjacent to a forest. And during this time traveling, I began experiencing past life remembrances and having extra sensorial connections, ancestral visitations, and initiations, and embracing what I consider my superpowers. I thought what I had learned from riding a motorcycle had heightened my senses, and I have a whole new relationship with the energy of the world. And I have a heightened communication with plants and animals. I also developed a much deeper connection between my inner and outer worlds, and really starting to see that the self-reflection that occurs. I also became much more in tune and having much deeper, regular communication with my universal guides, and overall just a greater understanding of my power as a human being. So as the pandemic began to ease, I attempted to start my business again, as I had done before, and reaching out to people the same way I had. And things just weren't working out. Nothing was coming together for me. And I realized that I had drastically changed, that my understanding of the world had changed, my vibrational frequency had changed. And I realized that I could no longer serve my clients as I had before, because I had learned of something far more valuable to offer. So, along with the processing of my own shadow work, including a deep witch wound that stemmed from many lives ago, with the help of my guides, I created a new design methodology, and I started a podcast to get an important conversation going. Ultimately, I accepted my lightworker mission as an environmental wellness practitioner. And most recently, to add to this, I have received my personal Pathways Akashic Practitioner certification that I'm working on incorporating into the methodology. And I'm so excited of where things are going with all of this. So a little bit about where I used to be as a designer and what the background is in my design work. In retail design, it was based on sales-oriented marketing strategies. And if you're not familiar with who Edward Bernays is, I highly recommend doing some research. He is considered the father of public relations and propaganda. He literally wrote the book on it. And his writing, his theories has such an incredible influence on today's world, from our media to our politics to our marketing, just about everything. And so retail design is typically a combination of seasonally oriented storytelling and quick eye-catching sales tactics, where then getting into theater design, it's really based on scripted storylines and the characters, and then of course the director's interpretation of it. Now, landscape design is you're dealing with a given space, and so it's based on the site inventory and analysis of the landscape, and this includes existing conditions, the pros and cons that you're working with, the history, the location regulations. Cities have rules, right? And then there's the client's needs and desires, and then putting the knowledge that I have from my years of school and experience, applying that to the and my interpretation of the site analysis and the client's desires, and creating the design from there. So I really want to briefly also explain what environmental wellness is. There is a vast amount of, if you research it, everyone has a different opinion on this. There's many different definitions. This is one that really resonated with me from the University of Arizona Counseling and Psych Services. The environmental wellness refers to your sense of safety, comfort, and connection with your physical surroundings. Wellness in this domain begins in your immediate surroundings. Your personal space has a direct impact on your state of mind, emotional well-being, and productivity. Environmental wellness also extends beyond your personal space to larger communities, geographic areas, and the planet. So some of the common solutions and remedies are with decluttering, adding more light, especially sunlight, removing toxins, adding color, creating a sense of safety and security, spending more time in nature, and overall creating a positive environment. Now, all of this I agree with, and I use and suggest to my clients as well. But there were some things that had changed for me, and things that I had noticed that were missing. I came to recognize the self-empowerment that can occur in the process of cultivating a personal relationship with one's environment, and how your physical surroundings are truly a reflection of yourself, an exact frequential match of your being. There is immense value in understanding how and why the external you affects the internal you and vice versa, and taking charge of this for yourself. I realized how fortunate I am as a highly trained artist and designer, because I am well versed in the languages of the physical world. And once I began genuinely paying attention and listening, I started receiving messages from my environment, similarly to how you receive messages through meditation, dreams, and divination techniques and practices. Essentially tapping into your subconscious, but it's more than that. It's beyond that. So I noticed that once I took full responsibility for the power that I hold as a creator and a manifester, and truly came to understand the 12 universal laws, that there are opportunities to learn more about my inner self through this self-reflection in my surroundings. And not just in what was happening in my life, but the complete physical structure of my environment. So with the help of my universal guides, I began developing a new design methodology that supports internal and external connectivity and well-being. So some of the considerations that I took into mind with this new design methodology, with these new and improved ontological and epistemological lenses, were the idea of creating individual, unique environmental wellness programs, which honor each person's soul's journey, both current and past lives, and your ancestral lineage as well, and their self-expression of this in the present. Developing and maintaining a relationship between the inner and exterior environments, and this teaching and or learning the languages of the physical world and how to interpret and express it internally and externally. So essentially with this, it's creating a two-way communication system in what I call the property caregiver relationship. And I'm not sure which I like better, but I sometimes call it an eco-ship, and sometimes I call it an enviro-ship. And along with this, assisting in recognizing and exploring the opportunities for self-discovery, self-awareness, self-improvement, and self-expression, as well as cultivating intimacy through spiritual connectedness. Now, in order for my clients to receive the fullest self-empowerment from this process, they must embrace their power as the creator and step into the role of the designer. Meanwhile, my role becomes that of a guide rather than being the designer. So some of the components of my methodology, and this is not all inclusive, but there's a lot here. And the other thing is some of these cross over. It was hard to decide which ones go under which category. But essentially the establishing and cultivating the relationship and connecting with your connecting your inner and outer worlds. include the discovering of how and why you relate to the physical objects and living things in your space, learning the history and the stories behind the contents of your environment, utilizing the Akashic records in this exploration, understanding and truly living the concept that your surroundings are a reflection or somewhat of an extension of who you are. And this really embodies the universal laws, the law of oneness, the law of vibration, the law of correspondence, law of attraction, law of inspired action, law of perpetual transmutation of energy, the law of cause and effect, the law of compensation, the law of relativity, the law of polarity, and the law of rhythm and gender. Now, also sensorial storytelling, and that is the use of all of your senses. And that's your 5 senses that we've all been taught, but there's many more beyond that, to physically and energetically express your personal story. Basically, you and the other household members are the directors, you're the characters of your script, and your environment is your stage. So the learning and creating the language part is based in the principles of design, which are balance, contrast, emphasis, repetition, movement, proportion, negative white space, hierarchy, pattern, rhythm, unity, harmony, and variety, which are actually very similar to what the universal laws are. There's a lot of crossover there. Applying everything from color theory to chromatherapy, color theory to chromatherapy, aromatherapy, somatic therapy, and other techniques that enhance your sensual awareness and connectedness. Understanding that all things hold and radiate energy, and that energy flows within a space. Using symbolism and sacred geometry, which are the building blocks, both in the micro and the macro of everything in our universe. Exploring natural materials, plants, animals, the elements like water, air, earth, fire, and metals, crystals and minerals, which I think of as the holders of the ancient wisdom, versus the man-made materials, which are the modern, what I consider more filtered and less potent wisdom. Utilizing techniques adapted from dream analysis and dream interpretation techniques to discover personal meanings in these things. Recognizing synchronicities and not writing them off as coincidence. And then spiritual design. The incorporation of beliefs, rituals, and other soul-aligned techniques, such as the chakras, the medicine wheel or 4 directions, which are very important, especially with outdoor design and doing landscapes. The 4 directions are essential to pay attention to. The plants are very tapped into that. And then utilizing things such as feng shui, religious and cultural aspects, astrology, the moon cycles, for example, and galactic relations. And there's just so much more. And each client has something else to bring to that. So ultimately creating a soul connection with your space, with your energetic equivalent in this physical form, in its physical form. So as an advocate of bringing the environment into the mind, body, soul equation, these are some questions and thoughts that I would like to propose. Does your home environment appropriately and beneficially express who you are and the person who you are becoming? Does the spaces you spend most of your time in support or detract from your ability to feel good and be positive? What do you know about your home and the things in it? Their history, what are they made of? What are the energetic frequencies? It's not only what your environment says about you, it's also what your environment says to you. You are creating your environment while simultaneously it creates you. And I am here to encourage people to focus on what is right in front of you, behind you, above, below, and next to you more often, and to use these things as entryways to observing and enhancing your internal and expansive selves, pathways to your complete well-being. If you could make improvements in your overall well-being by making changes in the design of your living spaces and how you relate to them, would you be up for trying something new? Why is it that we so often primarily focus on mind, body, soul connection? What will it take for humankind to remember that we are not separate from our surroundings, living and non-living, the natural world, as well as the deepest, most urban environments? By creating a healthy relationship and a healthy environment for yourself, you also create a healthy environment for the world. Just as having a positive attitude or approach to life influences the attitude of the community you are a part of. And many years ago, I began to view my imagination not as something from my mind, but rather that I was tapping into a greater collective of realities. Essentially, no thought or idea is truly original or single sourced, just borrowed from somewhere else in the cosmos of space, of all space and time. I have since learned that this is the Akasha. It is as if the act of creating is the act of expressing your interdimensional existence. This is a gift we have in this human experience, and one that we should honor and value individually and collectively. Your environment is your creation. It's your portal to your innermost core being, as well as your interconnectedness to all. And then I'd like to share a few inspirational quotes from others. And Sheila, as you mentioned in the opening, as above, so below, as within, so without. And then, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. And that's Carl Jung. I do not think the measure of a civilization is how tall its buildings of concrete are, but rather how well its people have learned to relate to their environment and fellow man. Sun Bear. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. Wayne Dyer. Spiritual versus material are not the choices. Everything about this physical manifestational experience is spiritual. It is all the end product of spirit. You have nothing to prove. Be the spiritual you and create like a physical fiend. Abraham Hicks. And everything has been created twice, once on a mental plane and once on a physical plane. Bob Proctor. So with all of that, I would like to invite those of you who are interested to work with me, interested to learn more about me, to visit my website. It's www.environmentallyou.com. If you would like to reach out and connect with me, my email is connect@environmentallyou.com. And as I mentioned earlier, I have started a podcast, which is dedicated to the exploration of our direct relationship with our environments and ways in which we can cultivate a deeper connection and understanding of ourselves through the spaces in which we live out our daily lives. And this podcast has been audio only up until recently, and now that I am have joined as a new host with the Conscious Awakening Network, I am transitioning into video, and you can find it through the Conscious Awakening Network. And the other thing I really wanted to mention, on my website, I have an opportunities page where I post things. I'm right now even looking for people who would be interested in being on the podcast and joining and sharing to be a part of this conversation that I want to explore with others. And also I have an upcoming episode, and I'm looking for more people, clients who would be willing to share about their experience through the initial consultation package, the process working with me on the podcast. And so there's more information on that on the opportunities page, as well as feel free to reach out to me, and I'd be happy to talk to you further. And I think that's it. So I would love to hear people's questions, comments, anything that you have to share.
Oh, thank you so much. One of the things, I had a question that I wanted to ask. When someone initially comes to you, what are most of the people looking for?
Well, it being that this is really quite new, it's a range of it can either be people who are interested in designing and redesigning their either a new design or a redesign of their space using this technique, or it can be somebody you don't necessarily have to want to redesign. It can also be wanting to learn these ways of building this relationship, and through that you end up learning how to navigate and make changes in your environment. So it depends. It's from more than one place.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great, thanks. And so Susie, you have a question?
Well, I sure have a comment. I just think your life is so, the fact that you just pulled from so many areas from your path is just, and I love that you're a rebel. I just think you're really finding some great answers, and I just love this presentation.
Thank
Truly,
you. Thank
really,
you.
truly. I don't have questions. I was just so intrigued with all the way that you got all this information. So keep going, girl.
Thank you very
Love it.
much.
Love it.
Yeah, and I too like the way that you look at the Akashic and the way that you use all of the universal laws to work with people to incorporate that component of spirituality within their environments. And I was just wondering, can you give us an example of, let's say, if someone has just a living room space, it's all cluttered, it doesn't really express who they are. When you come in, what are some of the first things that you look at, or some of the things that you would suggest to people?
So I start my process with and on the podcast, I actually have 3 bonus episodes. They're 1.5, 2.5, and 3.5. That are exercises, they're practice exercises that I actually start people off with building the relationship before we even get into anything design wise, and really learning how to see yourself through the space. So we actually don't really get into design right off the bat. I do like to talk to people about why they're interested, so one of my recent clients, and she is actually one I feel comfortable sharing this, because she is sharing her experience with me on the podcast. And she had a lot of clutter issues, a lot of a blockage. She has a small studio, but she just had so many like towers of things that she had blocked herself in. And we really looked at who she was from an astrological perspective. She has a lot of water in her chart, and it was really interesting because she's aware of this. And so we got into why she was creating these blockages and these like dams that were stopping her own energy from being able to flow through her space. And so we worked from there. But it's basically, I have people do these 3 exercises first to help open them up to what it is that they're even, because a lot of people don't even know what they're doing that's holding them back. And the exercises that I've created, I feel that they at least get that started. And then from there, and from talking with people, I then create more little mini exercises. I also really encourage writing, or it may be drawing, whatever, using your creative expression because I truly feel that that's tapping into at the very least, you're tapping into your own subconscious mind. But as I stated, I believe that in the process of being creative, we're actually tapping into the Akasha. And so that helps getting those juices flowing.
Awesome. All right. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Well, hey, Mary. Go ahead and unmute.
Hey, hi. Well, really fun to hear you speak about this. I too have been on doing interiors. I got a BFA and then an interior design degree. Then I went to architecture school. Then I went to sustainability school. I studied feng shui. I lived in Colorado. I went to India to go. What a map is of what our life is. So thank you for your great organized talk today about how you approach it. I have always seen, being an interior designer too, and doing a lot of very similar things. Our interiors are a map of who we are, and our blockages are literally a roadmap of our homes, where the sadness is, the chair that has all that bad energy. So, and because we are all energetic, and every piece of furniture, every thought, our piles are in places often, as I'm sure you know too, because you've been doing this, of where our sadnesses and our joys. Each piece of art should be a portal and something happy that can take them on a mini vacation and get rid of some of the negative things. But through travel and studying, I was in Colorado. I lived off the grid for about a year, and it's just fascinating. We've had a lot of the same experiences. But I salute you. And I was so lucky that I found, when I worked at NASA and worked at firms, we were doing multifaceted design. So I never had to isolate out all the different pieces of it, which you did so much more methodologically. And I did too, really, in school. Like I did this and this, then working in suicidals and doing art therapy, and then, so, all those different things. But anyway, thank you for a beautiful presentation. And it is all energy. Everything we have in our home, like the people we bring into our lives, either have positive or negative energy. We do either attract it or we have to delete it. And that's same with every item in people's homes. So anyway, bravo to you. I wish you lots of luck, and welcome aboard to Sheila and the wonderful group that we have here on Conscious Awakening Network and Cosmic Conversations. So thank you.
Thank you, Mary. I would love to have more further conversation with you on this.
I would love to.
Yes.
Do we have in? Thank you so much, Mary. I knew when I had to text Mary, and I'm like, Mary, you got that? Listen to Corrina. She sounds like you. She talked about the inner and outer.
I said, this is weird. And I've been doing interiors off planet too my whole life. since I was a little girl. I mean, it's like I've been, we're all trying to get in touch with our earth energy, which is all I've ever wanted to connect with, which was what we do. And Metatron said that I am here to spread love and spread color and spread vitality and speak and to spread and to help people connect to the inner outer. I just did a talk. This is what I am. I call mine connecting inner outer space and bringing the outdoors indoors in thousands of spaces that I've done all over the world. And now I've been working off planet for a long time. And they say, what do we do with this space? And I said, well, it's the same thing you've watched me for 72 years. We go through what's the purpose of this? What's the intention? Who's going to live here? What are the needs? What's the timeline? All those basic rules of thumb of aesthetics and design and practicality. That most people are so unaware of in their homes, that we're living in so much bad stuff from the past, or that we've carried along, that I've refreshed every day. I declutter every single day, and I have my clients, I call what I do space lips. And I make my clients, if they will, take out at least a bag or garbage bag every single day. I mean, literally for a 3-month period, to just start getting rid of the cooties, because they drowned us, they suffocate us. We do it to ourselves, like you say, without even knowing the power of art and design and the stuff that we clutter. And people got so shut down and even more depressed during COVID that we have to work even more diligently and respectfully with our guides and ourselves to let go of some of that pain and all those different layers that we have, to let go of that, so we can have freedom in our homes and create these safe sanctuaries that we come home to, where we can finally be at peace. So it's pretty crazy out there right now, we know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I would definitely love to learn more about. I know I have traveled to other worlds in my dreams, but I have yet to design for them. So I would love to have more conversation with you.
I would love
about
that.
Yeah.
I would love that. We should do a trip together, figure it out.
Sounds
I'll bring you
good.
along sometime. If I knew how to do that, I would. But anyway, I don't mean to hog the
watch out,
conversation.
galactic family here.
Let's all go. We are going on a mission. We have a mission.
Right.
We are on it. So we should really do have a little design team, because the power of art and design is not known. And I speak about this all the time now. And I've always done it when working at NASA, de-stressing astronauts, and the astronauts would come up to me and say, we're not stressed. It's like, are you kidding? Like, and then they follow me around going, oh, can we use green? Can we do this? Can we, I mean, it's just, until we unlock ourselves from the awareness and the sensitivity and the hyper spirituality that there is within our homes. I mean, this is, really important stuff for the future, particularly as the outdoors gets crazier. Kids are not safe at home. Kids are not, at school, in the environment, on the streets anymore. If we don't create sanctuaries for ourselves and our clients and our friends, people will not ever be able to relax and feel at peace. And that's why we are here. For all of us here, all the things that you all do, we play our part here on planet Earth. And now, we're trying to figure out how to do Mars, and the Pleiadians and Arcturians. Everybody are asking me, where do they come and how do they live on Earth? So I've been teaching them to kids, and the ETs and the blended beings that I've been working with for 40, 50 years, or really my whole life on this planet. I'm just, as Sheila knows, I'm just coming into focus now, because it just seemed too completely crazy since I went on craft at age 5. I've been trying to put all the pieces together, and we are in a revolution. I was on the front of the cover of Newsweek protesting the Vietnam War in 1969. We have to be activists. We have to be rebels. We have to speak our minds and be really diligent soldiers, and the army really to come in and use our heart and our soul and our spirit and all our guides and everything that we have to help us clean out and move forward happily and healthy. I call it creating happier, healthier environments, which is what I've always said for a long time to my college students here at the Academy for College. I live in San Francisco. But anyway, so it's wonderful to hear your words, and I'm sure everybody was inspired by it, and let's definitely connect. Love to.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mary. Let's see, Pamela.
Yes, hi.
Hello.
Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm so excited. Well, I went on craft at about 3 in 1955.
Mine was
And
54.
I did the Vietnam War. I still got my POW bracelet, my MIA bracelet. I got an invitation to Woodstock. I am a 27-year life master horticulturist for the United States of America. I am a National Council Federal Flower Show judge when I used to do the county fairs and the state fairs across the United States. I brought gardening to elementary schools, especially Title I, back in the 80s, and it took off. I also got to work with the Prisoner Project and horticulture there as well. Right now, I'm an elemental, and I am growing cannabis medicine for the state of Oklahoma. And I am 70, and my specialty is recreating antique landscape designs. So I would go in and be able to recreate the landscapes designs. So I too, 40 years in Colorado, I worked for NASA, a couple of things on the shuttlecraft. I did a QA for a satellite retrieval for TRW, and I can't believe all the similarities. I'm just going to.
Wow.
Well, Pamela, please
crazy.
reach out to me as well.
Yeah,
I'd love to talk with all of you so much more.
Group here. Well, we're going to start a space group. We're going to have a space group here. My dad was a rocket scientist, and so was my grandfather and great grandfather. And I have hybrid kids. My dad did, my grandfather did. They designed and manufactured heavy rocketry for the government and NASA from the 50s. So I grew up with the first space race every night at dinner. He and my dad and Werner von Braun went to Area 51 in 1951, the year of my birth. So anyway, he was never allowed to speak to me about him going with me on the craft when I was a little girl, because he was part of the government, and Sheila knows the story. That's why I did ET Friends in Space with Barbara, and I'm doing more kids books to help prepare children so they are not like me, finding out all this information now that I could have learned as a child, because they were would have been killed, and we all would have been gonzo if he had spoken to me about any of these things. So
Mary, why don't you put your email in the chat, and Pamela, put your email in the chat, and you ladies can get together. It sounds like that you have a lot of
Space Fest, coincidence.
And I would love to have both of you on the podcast too, to share.
Really
That'd be wonderful.
Lovely, wonderful. We'd love to.
All right, this is beautiful.
Okay, well, thank you, ladies. And Susie, you have your hand up again?
Yeah, I just think I wondered, because I hadn't talked before Pamela, but I was going to say I think Mary and Corrina should get together and then put a show on for Sheila's, and then now Pamela. I mean, the synergism here is just beautiful.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it last month with this connecting inner outer space because I wasn't well a month ago, and I was so sorry I couldn't do it. So I'd love to come back on and do it sometime if somebody cancels. Sheila, I know you're super busy, but I would love to. Then we can figure out something fun to do too. So
so exciting.
All right, lots of brainstorming, and I think that it's really beautiful, the overall concept about the decluttering of your space, because from a shamanic perspective, everything holds energy, everything has life. And when you have competing energies in your home, that will also resonate and permeate within your cellular structure. And so what you ladies are bringing forward is very fascinating. And Corrina, I want to thank you so much for coming on tonight. Welcome you to the Conscious Awakening Network as one of the new hosts. I look forward to receiving lots and lots of great videos from you. I know we've already got your first one up. So thank you again. And I want to thank everyone. And Corrina, before we close, we have Susie's going to give us a song at the very end. But I'd like for you, if you have some final words that you would like to share with people.
I really strongly encourage people to build that relationship with your exterior world, because it really truly is a direct reflection of your inner world. And you can learn so much about yourself from the things in your life, and learning about them and learning how to see yourself in them. And then also that process of being creative it's all connected. And so if it's with me or with someone else or on your own, I'm extremely passionate about this being it's an important part of the wellness process.
Right. And can I just say one last thing? I've been doing wellness interiors for 50 years. People's lives are changed. We have to help people make these decisions because people don't know how to do it themselves. I've done it with seniors, with kids. I've gone into schools. I do it for myself. I got rid of some really annoying piles a couple of weeks ago, and I totally feel different myself, and I do this. But anyway, thank you, Corrina, and thank you, Sheila, for this wonderful evening, and to all of you. Really fun. Really important.
Mary, thank you. All right. Well, I want to thank everyone. Oh, one thing, Bridget was not able to make us tonight. She has had 2 people in her life that have passed over. So if we can kind of remember Bridget and send her some really good healing vibes. We love you, Bridget, if you're out there listening right now, and also love all of our Awaken Ascending folks. So I want to thank everyone for being here, for all your contributions, showing up every, at all the shows. Now, Monday night, of course, we start with a brand new month, and I'll be having Augie Nost, who will be with me from Broadcast Team Bravo. And so this is going to be an entire month where we're going to be bringing individuals on. We're going to kind of dive deep and go into looking at space programs. We're going to look at extraterrestrial life, contact. And so that will be an entire month on our Mondays. And so if that is of interest to you guys, please be sure to join us. But until we're back together again, I want to thank everyone and wish you much love. Hopefully you have a happy and safe 4th of July. And I want to go ahead and bring Susie up. She has a song to play for us. This is kind of send us on our way. So thank you so much, everyone, and much love. All right, Susie, it's all yours.
Okay, this is from Alan Meakin and Stephen Schwartz wrote it. You all know it from the Disney movie Pocahontas. You think you own whatever land you land on. The earth is just a dead thing you can claim. But I know every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, has a name. You think the only people who are people are the people who look and think like you. But if you walk the footsteps of a stranger, you'll learn things you never knew, you never knew. Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon? Or ask the grinning bobcat why he grinned? Can you sing with all the voices of the mountains? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? We can paint with all the colors of the wind. How high the sycamore grow? If we cut it down, then we will never know. And we'll never know the wolf cry to the blue corn moon, or whether we are white or copper skin. We need to sing with all the voices of the mountains. We need to paint with all the colors of the wind. You can own the earth and still all you'll own is earth until we can paint with all the colors of the wind. Yay.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. That was very appropriate. So again, good evening, good night. Much love to everyone, and hope you have a wonderful holiday. We'll all chat together again soon. Bye-bye.